Repainting YouTube channel. Before we go any further, please subscribe, give us a like, guys. We will appreciate that a lot. So what we're gonna be doing here is just gonna be repainting walls and ceilings only, no timber doors, curtains or anything like that. This way we have to cut in around all the timber on the door frames and the skirtings. We have to do no more gapping on the skirtings without putting any normal gap on a skirting. So it's gonna be a little bit more difficult than normally. This is the update number 1. Start with normal gapping. The normal gap I'm using is a Sika Acrylic normal gap. Just noticed on this one, it's the gap is too wide, so I'll probably have to fill it up with the plaster before I do the gapping again. As you can see, there's more than 5 millimeters. Applying only normal gap is not gonna do the job, so later on I will have to fill it up with the plaster first and then do a bit of normal gapping as well. When you do gapping between two surfaces like these two, the one that's gonna be painted and the other one that's not going to be painted, in this case the wall's going to be painted, the skirting is not going to be painted. Have wet rag constantly on you. The reason why, first of all, you're gonna keep your fingers away from harm. What I mean by that, if you do normal gapping only with your fingers gonna end up like pencils and it's gonna be bloody and painful. But if you use a wet rag, that's not gonna happen. And you to keep clean this surface that you're not going to paint. Reason why, you don't want to repaint it because you messed it up with normal gap. As you can see, wet rag is crucial for this kind of work, and I always use it. Sometimes I use my fingers to the point when it starts to hurt, but then I get the wet rag like one here. When you're working with the wet rag, you gotta make sure you wash it every 10 to 15 minutes so it's clean. Should be clean, because you're wiping off all the surfaces that are clean. You gotta keep the rag clean, otherwise you're gonna have a normal gap all over the surface you don't supposed to paint, and you will end up painting it. It's not that hard. Every 10 to 15 minutes go and wash your rag in the water. When you're washing a rag, squeeze all the normal gap out of it until water is sort of clean, not crystal clean, because it's gonna take you too much time. Just 4 or 5 times fill it with water and squeeze it out like this. Once that's finished, fold that like that and squeeze all the excess water like that, because you don't want the water to drop everywhere all over the floor. Pretty much I'll be it for that. This is update number 2. We just finished all the normal gapping. Now we're gonna remove fittings for power points, switches, fittings for lines, the ones that need to be removed, and we're gonna remove all the hooks for the pictures that are on the walls, and that will be it. This is a good example, guys, to see why the covers from the PowerPoints and switches need to be removed. Someone else did the painting before and they did not remove the covers. They dirtied them, as you can see it on the side, and the worst thing that can happen is these covers are stick to the wall with the paint now, so I have to use a scraper to remove it like this. But be careful at the same time not to break them. See, that's what happens if you don't remove the covers. Before we do any patching, we're gonna just go around and make these holes like this, so when we patch that, we don't have that sharp edge around the hole. So we're gonna do all of them pretty much. It's gonna be a lot easier to patch once you do this. So when you have something like this, you need to cut this out, otherwise it's gonna be like that all the time. So I have my knife ready. With stuff like this, you just cut it out around it. Reason why this has happened, the G-block is broken underneath it and it just peels off, so there is no other way than this. This is the best way to do this, to make this one flat, nice and flat again. Hey guys, this is update number 3, patching. So we're gonna patch all the holes, all the dents on the walls, try to skim it as much as possible. We're gonna use the base coat for bigger holes, and then we're gonna skim it with the top coat after we finish that. So basically it's base coat and top coat. First we're gonna use the base coat to patch the bigger holes, as I mentioned before. When you're mixing base coat, don't mix too much, especially if you don't have many holes to fill up. It's gonna be waste otherwise. So this is a good base coat, a good mixture. When it stays on a scraper like that, always wet the surface that you're gonna put the base coat on a little bit, otherwise it's gonna get sticking to it. Patching holes is very simple if you follow the rules. One simple rule, and that is push it in. That's it. Move to the next. Sometimes you have to repeat it, like that. if you remember at the beginning of the video, that this was the part where we could not no more gap it because it's too wide, it's more than 5 millimeters wide. So we're gonna do base coat first on this one and then gap it later when it's base coat dry. When the plaster is halfway dry, you use a sponge and make it nice and smooth. Update number 4 is sanding. I'm gonna use 120 grit sandpaper to sand all the ceilings, all the patches that I've patched on the walls and ceilings. I'm gonna do them first and then I'm gonna sand all the surfaces, the ceiling and the walls. And I'm gonna show you how I do it. I'm using a pole with the sand down on a pole. I'm sanding it. I'm gonna explain the technique how I'm doing it. It's very easy. This is the sand that I'm using with the extension pole and 120 grit sandpaper. When I start sanding ceilings, I sand patches first and then I sand the whole ceiling. The technique that I'm using for sanding is as follows. I lean the sand down lightly on the ceiling. I don't put too much pressure, just to hold the sand against the ceiling in about 60 degrees angle. And then I go left and right. And then going backwards. The reason I'm going backwards is to avoid all the dust that's coming off the ceiling that I'm sanding. And you don't supposed to push this sand up too much against the ceiling. If you do that, it's going to be very hard. Otherwise, if you just follow these simple instructions, you'll be fine when sanding the ceiling. That's the technique that I'm using. I hope you got some info about this one. This is update number 5. Update number 5 is painting. The first thing we're gonna do is ceilings. We're gonna cut it in and roll. Particularly this ceiling here, we're gonna just do one coat and that will be it for the ceiling. Before you do ceilings, of course you need to give it a sand, as you've seen in the previous updates. And if you are doing painting from this point, if you're just starting to paint and you're not doing everything else that I showed you before, you're doing it wrong. So you have to do all these previous updates that I show you, all the previous preparation in order to come to the painting. As you can see, update number 5 is painting. We have another 4 updates before the painting, which is preparation. For this, I'm gonna use, as usual, Acrylic ceiling flat paint. I already cut it in. Some parts, still more to go. Once I cut in everything, I'm gonna start rolling. And I'm gonna update you with some tips when you're rolling ceilings and how to do that. So how you're gonna do, what is the best technique to roll the ceilings. So when you're rolling ceilings, it's very important how you hold your roller. So when I'm rolling ceilings, this is the position I'm holding roller at. This arm holds the pole and this arm is just pushing the pole. Lightly. You don't put too much pressure on the ceiling because you're gonna have lines that you will have to roll over again. Just enough pressure so the paint goes nicely on it and And this is the hand. This hand controls the pressure. This hand just pushes roller left and right. And when you're rolling, you have to overlap. So every time overlap for the half of the roller, half of the sleeve. Like if I'm gonna roll this, I'm gonna overlap it like that. And I'm gonna show you that later on when I start rolling the ceilings. First, adjust the pole for your height. First, I'm gonna unload the paint like that, and then I'm gonna go like this to the corner. The reason why I'm doing this is I don't want to have too much paint in the corner. I rather layer off first for one length of the roller on this side, so when you spread it, you don't have too much paint in the corner, so that it doesn't have that thick edge in the corner. Same thing again. Overlap it. When you're joining rollers, you have to do this trick like that. Lift it a little bit so you don't see the joints. Try to get close to the corner as much as possible without hitting it. It's the same now. Just repeat the process. Every time overlap for the half of the sleeve. Same on this side. Now we're gonna lay it off. That's how you roll a ceiling. But before you roll the ceiling, I forgot to mention before, remove all the fittings from the ceiling, whatever is up there. In this case, all the downlights, I pull them out. It's a lot easier and quicker to do the ceilings once you, for example, when you pull out the downlight, instead of cutting around every downlight, you just pull it up and finishes even better this way. Update number 6. Update number 6 is painting walls. So what's included in painting the walls? First, we're going to cut in everything between the ceilings and the walls and all the corners and between the skirtings, architraves, all around the doors. We're going to do that 2 times. After that, we're going to patch up all the patches that we've done before. So just do undercoat on them before we apply 2 top coats on top of that. Every time we roll the walls, we're going to do sanding. So there's going to be sanding before, sand all the walls, applying 1 coat, then sanding again, and then another coat. That will be it for the walls. And then we're going to do before and after at the end, so you can see the product of all this that we went through, so how it's gonna look before and after. you're cutting in with the brush between the ceiling and the wall, in this case we are cutting the wall, it's very important to know that when you're cutting in, it's all about how you're gonna press the brush bristles, and your life is gonna be a lot easier if you know that. So what I do, I apply the paint first. Again. And then I press the bristles and just pull the line. Then when you're in the corner, same thing. It's all about how you press the bristles. Go one more time to be sure. Then wipe off the edge. That's pretty much how it's done. And if you follow these instructions, you'll be fine. I'm about to start sanding walls. It's pretty much the same system, but it's a lot easier when you're sanding the walls than the ceilings. I'm gonna demonstrate that as well. After sanding the walls, I'm gonna start rolling all the top coats. First I'm gonna touch up all the patches on the walls, and then I'm gonna roll everything in 2 coats, and I'm gonna explain the techniques of rolling on the walls. Once again, I did this a couple of times on a couple of my videos, but just to make this video all in one, I'm gonna explain it again. When sanding walls, you use extension pole and sander. I'm using 120 grit sandpaper. So it's a similar technique as the ceilings, a little bit easier. So what do? You adjust the pole the way it suits you. The right hand pulls it down and up, and the pressure is with the left hand. So you press it lightly on the wall and pull it up and down. And it's pretty much very easy to do. So it's right hand, you pull the sander up and down the wall, and the left hand applies the pressure. I don't apply too much pressure on the wall, just lightly. As you can see, it's probably for the weight of the pole and the sander, because you don't need to take off that much of the paint from the wall, just to take off all these small dots that are going to be visible when you apply new paint. Like that. Up and down, up and down. Very simple. Using 11mm peel on this roller sleeve. That means that's the thickness of the wool on the roller, and this is a specially made roller for the gibber walls and smooth surfaces, all the smoother surfaces. What we do first, we load the roller with the paint. When I'm applying paint in the wall, I'm not gonna go all the way to the corner or all the way to the top. This is only applying paint. Now I'm gonna spread it evenly, but this time I'm gonna go just to the edge. Like that. And now I'm gonna go into the corner. The reason why I don't put heavy load in the corner is I don't want very heavy edge there. And now I'm gonna go layer up. This is called laying off the paint. But this time I'm gonna go closer to the top and all the way down to the skirting. And every time we're gonna overlap roller for the half of the length, like that. Like that. Like that. I'm gonna do the same for the rest of the wall. Apply paint. Again, I'm not gonna go all the way to the top or the bottom. This is just applying the paint. Before you paint, of course, you need to have all the drop sheets and cover everything you don't want to paint. Again, I'm going to go in the corner with the half dry roller. And then I'm going to go lay it off. Spread it evenly. Like this. And lay it off. And every time overlap and all the way to the top. Overlap. Overlap half of the roller. Overlap. All the way to the top and the bottom. The reason why we are overlapping is we're covering all the lines. You don't see any lines from the roller. it for this time, for this video. Thank you for watching, guys. I appreciate it. If you have any questions or any comments, please leave it down below. I hope I help someone out there with all my explanations, how to do these things, how to paint it by yourself, or if you need to approve some techniques or learn the new techniques. I'd be very happy if I help out anyone out there. As I said, if you have any questions, happy to answer. Till next time, cheers.